As is customary, we will begin with opening statements. 5 weeks ago, because of the work of Director Patel, we learned that the former chair of the House Intelligence Committee and current United States Senator leaked classified information. We learned this because a whistleblower came forward. Whistleblower with 23 years experience in the intelligence community, a Democrat staffer on the committee, said this: they were pressured to leak classified information, which sort of raises the obvious question. Why would the head of the Intelligence Committee, the chair of that committee, who's supposed to be guarding our secrets, why would he be encouraging the leaking of classified information? Whistleblower told us that answer as well. The leaked information was supposed to be used, the leaked information, false information, was going to be used to indict President Trump. Now, the former chairman wasn't the only person leaking information. Jim Comey was also sharing things he wasn't supposed to share. Again, don't take my word for it. The Inspector General told us this. In his report, he said, quote, James Comey violated FBI policy by disclosing classified information. And what was Comey's motive? Same as the senator from California: to sabotage and undermine President Trump's first term. And we know that Mr. Comey's not been shy about what his objective was. In fact, 4 months ago, he told us. Remember this? 8647. Jim Comey told us just 4 months ago. Now, how'd they do it? How did the former chair of the Intel community, the former FBI director, and others in our government attempt to undermine President Trump's first term? 7 weeks ago, because of the good work of the Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, we learned from another whistleblower, a second whistleblower, that in the closing days of the Obama administration, the intelligence community assessment was changed. On December 5th, 2016, they had one assessment. That assessment said Russia did not impact the election vote count. There was a meeting at the White House on December 9th, 2016, where it was decided, no, we're not going to.
Welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving into a heated congressional hearing on the oversight of the FBI, an explosive session that touched on political violence, whistleblower revelations, and accusations of sabotage against former President Trump. This hearing wasn't just about oversight. It was about uncovering the truth behind years of controversy, leaks, and internal battles at the highest levels of government. The hearing began on a somber note, with both parties reflecting on the tragic assassination of Charlie Kirk. Lawmakers described him as a happy warrior and a defender of free speech, invoking scripture and calling for unity against political violence. Members from across the aisle condemned the growing trend of political attacks, linking it to other acts of violence that have shaken the nation. The discussion quickly shifted to whistleblower testimony, alleging that powerful figures within the intelligence community, including a U.S. Senator and former FBI Director James Comey, leaked classified information. According to the testimony, this wasn't just about breaches of protocol. It was about undermining Donald Trump's presidency from day one. The Inspector General's report confirmed that Comey had violated FBI policy, while whistleblowers revealed attempts to weaponize false information against a sitting president. Lawmakers presented evidence that, in the final days of the Obama administration, intelligence assessments about Russian election interference
did not impact the election vote count. There was a meeting at the White House on December 9th, 2016, where it was decided, no, we're not going to have that. We're going to come up with a new one. And the new one said Russia was trying to influence election and did influence election, which just wasn't accurate. And that new one is published on January 6, 2017. Let's just show you a few things that took place. I want to show you first this email from Admiral Rogers, the head of the NSA. You can see it was December 22nd. It says to Jim, John, and Jim Clapper, John Brennan, Jim Comey. And he says, I asked my team if they've had sufficient access to the underlying intelligence, sufficient time to review that intelligence. On both points, my team raised concern. Further states, my folks aren't fully comfortable. A few hours later, there's an email back to Admiral Rogers. This one is from Jim Clapper, and it says this: it is essential that we be on the same page and all of us are supportive of the report in the highest tradition of, that's our story and we're sticking to it. We may have to compromise on our normal modalities. This is one project that has to be a team sport. That's our story, and we're sticking to it. Compromise on normal modalities, that's a fancy way of saying, that's the government speak for we're going to have to change the rules. In fact, we're not going to follow our own rules. And that's exactly what they did to get the objective they wanted, to undermine President Trump. Now, how did it specifically take place? The whistleblower said that the government officials ignored concerns about discredited information. And what was that discredited information? What was the discredited information that they didn't ignore the concerns about? What did they use, that discredited information? Of course, it was the dossier. The now famous Steele dossier that was paid for by the Clinton campaign when they hired the law firm Perkins Coie, who hired Fusion GPS, who hired the foreigner Christopher Steele, who wrote all this garbage and lies down. That is what was used to change the intelligence community report. And
It's a sharp contrast to his predecessors. This hearing laid bare two competing narratives. One that paints the FBI's past leadership as politically motivated, and another that defends long-standing institutions against accusations of corruption. With whistleblowers coming forward, political violence rising, and reform efforts underway, the battle over America's justice system is far from over. If you found this breakdown informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more in-depth coverage of the hearings shaping our nation's future.